The CoinWeek Weekly Report is brought to you by PCGS. PCGS is the standard in the rare coin industry. Visit PCGS.com to learn more.
So who had the biggest booth at the Fun Show? And was the fact that that booth was empty for most of the show a concern to the numismatic industry? We'll answer this question next in the CoinWeek Weekly Report. Well, the 61st Annual Florida United Numismatists Convention has just wrapped up. This year, the January show was held in Tampa. Obviously, the big story of the show was the sale of the 1894S Barber Dime. CoinWeek was there, we posted a video, and you definitely want to check it out. Another big story behind the show was the fact that the coin market is coming back to life after a dormant 2014 winter season and a struggling 2015. Prices have been reported as being slightly lower, but the action has been brisk. A lot of dealers reported that having great shows. This is a sentiment we haven't really heard from many dealers for several months, especially near the close of 2015. One of the things that we noticed about the show is that it was well attended. Tampa brought out the best of the Florida numismatic scene, and it was a diverse array of people of all age groups and backgrounds. I was joined in Tampa by CoinWeek Assistant Editor Hubert Walker. Together, the two of us walked the floor, talked to dealers and collectors, and filmed over 25 segments. Most of those segments will end up on our YouTube channel and cross-posted in lower resolution to Facebook. But you'll definitely want to check out our cool coin segments, our uncool coin segments, and our cool currency segments. All of those are going to be online before the end of the month. Another thing that we took advantage of was the opportunity to speak to many of the experts who come to the show. We will have 2 CoinWeek IQ segments from the show for you shortly as well. So to get things started, we stopped by the booth of the United States Mint and Bureau of Engraving and Printing to see what they had to offer for 2016 and to find out who exactly is going to be on the $10 note. Hi everybody, I'm CoinWeek editor Charles Morgan, and I'm at the booth of the United States Mint and the United States Bureau of Engraving and Printing. As you can see, they are the largest vendor booth space in the entire convention hall at the 61st Annual Florida United Numismatists Convention. We're going to take our camera close up to see what the United States Mint and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing brought to show to collectors.
2015 may have marked a turning point in the way the United States Mint markets its coins at coin shows. After 2 straight years of madcap zaniness, with the release of the reverse-proof Buffalo at the A&A, the March 2014 release of the Baseball Hall of Fame coins in Baltimore, and culminating with pandemonium surrounding the release of the Kennedy Gold coin at the 2014 A&A, the Mint has grown increasingly reticent to release new coins at coin shows. As we walk around the Mint booth, we find it to be mostly empty and not all that exciting. Of course, the basic offerings on display, proof sets, mint sets, medals, specially packaged memento sets, and historically important notes. But you know what was notably absent this go-around? The 2016 American Silver Eagle. By the time you watch this video, the coin will already be available through the U.S. Mint's authorized bullion dealers. But at the Fun Show, just a few days before the coin's 30th anniversary, the ASC was a no-show. We did, however, manage to corral BEP spokesperson Kevin Brown to talk to us about who was going to join Alexander Hamilton on the $10 bill in 2020.
So Kevin, in 2020, we're going to see a new redesign to the $10 bill. For the first time in 100 years, we're going to have a notable woman on the note. Between us friends, you can tell me who it's going to be, right?
Well, the Secretary of Treasury make that announcement later this year.
Okay, so, I mean, just between us, though, I mean, off the record.
Off the record, the Secretary of Treasury will be making that announcement later this year.
Okay, thanks. Well, you know, we tried. We also got an update from dealer Leo Frazee on the 1942 to 1946 double mint sets that he picked up at Central States in 2014 from Heritage Auctions. So Lee, do you have new information about those 1942 to 1946 mint sets you bought at the Heritage Auction at Central States a couple of years ago?
Yes, we've been taking them on tour for the last year and a half, and this past summer at the Fun Convention, a gentleman came up to the table and was looking at the bags, and I asked him if I could tell him the story about the bags. He says, "No, I can tell you the story about the bags." He says, "My grandfather worked for the Treasury Department in the 1940s, and one of his jobs towards the end of each year was to assemble the sets, put them into the paper tubes, type up the letter as a receipt, refund in the form of postage, any overpayment, and then seal them in the canvas bags and mail them out." He said for a number of years it was no problem. But in 1946, in the Numismatist, there was a notice that sets could be ordered, 2 of each coin from each of the mints, send payment to the Treasury Department. He said they were inundated with thousands of orders that year.
So who put in the notice in the Numismatist? Was that?
It was the Treasury Department who had sent notice to the Numismatist, and they put it as a public service announcement that these were going to be available.
That's quite extraordinary. So they didn't plan on having that big of a response?
No, they did not expect it at all. He says, as a matter of fact, his grandfather was so overwhelmed that he had to have help. They actually ran out of canvas bags and used tobacco pouches to mail the remainder of the sets that year, and had to come up with a plan on how to distribute these sets in a more efficient way the following year, and thus the cardboard, mailing envelopes, what we know as double mint sets.
And before I go, a final word. Of course, this word isn't going to come from me, but from Heritage Auctions' Mark Burkhart, who recalls the life and legacy of collector Dan Holmes. So Mark, a major collector in the large cent world passed away this week, Dan Holmes. You had the opportunity to work with him and to know him and know his coins. What are your comments about Dan's collection and what he meant for the hobby?
Dan was a true gentleman, what some people would call an old school gentleman. He's somebody that I first met about 1985 or 1986. So I've had known him for almost 30 years. He is a very dedicated collector, and he formed a phenomenal large cent collection. His large cent collection was virtually complete from die variety from 1793 through 1857. He had, with one exception, he had every one of Sheldon's non-collectible varieties, his NC varieties.
The one he didn't have was
the one he didn't have was in the A&S collection, and it's unique, so he never had a chance to acquire that piece. Everything else he had. He did the same thing with the middle dates. He was complete with the middle date varieties, which is like almost around 300 coins ballpark. I'm not sure the exact count, but it's close to that. He had, I think, all but one of the late date varieties. And the one exception is another unique piece that he never had a chance to acquire. But he accomplished what nobody else in the modern collecting era had accomplished, and that was essentially a complete set of large cent die varieties. I would consider placing Dan Holmes' name at the top of the greatest large cent collectors who have ever been active in the hobby. Certainly there were people like Dr. Sheldon, like George Clapp. Dan Holmes, his name belongs right at the top of that list.
Of course, the centerpiece of his collection was a 1795 Reeded Edge S79. A coin, I think it was graded very good tin and brought 1.265 million at gold price.
Yeah, that coin is right at 1.265 million, as you say. It was graded VG10. That coin, we could call it the centerpiece of his collection, but there were many other coins that, even though they brought lower prices than that piece, many other coins in his collection also deserve to be called a centerpiece coin. He had a number of large cent varieties that were unique or nearly so. And just overall, he accomplished what nobody else had been able to accomplish.
And beyond his collection, like he actually was selfless in giving back to the hobby too.
He gave of his time, he gave of his knowledge. There was one story from a collector who, at an EAC convention, when Dan had all his 1794s on display. He had a complete set of 1794 large cent varieties. And a collector came up to his table where he had them on display and wanted to look at them. So he brought that collector around behind the table, gave him the keys to the display case, and said, help yourself. You don't see that very often in today's numismatic world.
Okay. Well, Mark, thanks for sharing your thoughts about your friend, and our condolences.
Well, it's my pleasure to talk about him, and we'll certainly miss you, Dan.
All right, thanks, Mark.